couple more come in here as we get going, and I want to take advantage of our hour and a half the best we can, and make the most of it. Obviously, we've got a state president forum tonight, and we'll cover some of those in a little bit. But just going over some quick announcements as you're coming in. If you join the call, please mute your microphones if you can. I didn't mute everybody as they came on, so please mute your microphones on there as you come in, and we'll cover that as we get into the forum itself. Looking forward to that. As of about 10 minutes ago, we have 357 members of the Texas Wrestling Officials Association, which is excellent for those of you who've been around for a while, knowing that we continue to gain members across the state, and as we advance the association, which is something I'm very, very excited about. Last year we were sitting at 313, and so as we go into the first solid week of competition and tournaments getting kicked off last weekend, 357 members is quite an increase. I'm still shooting for 400. 400's the number that's in my eye on that, but increasing from 313 last year to 400 is quite a lofty goal. And I think with a very successful recruiting campaign that we had last year across the state, we've been very successful in that. And so hopefully all of you chapters are enjoying the influx of new officials. And again, our mantra is gain, train, and retain, right? We want to make sure that we have a good recruiting campaign. We reach out to all of those ex-wrestlers, whoever you are, whether you just graduated high school last year, whether you're had kids in wrestling as they're coming up, whether your kids have just graduated high school and they're done now, and now you want to give back to the state and stay as close to the mat as you can with the best seat in the house on that as part of our organization. We're glad to have you and very, very proud to have you as part of our association. Texas Wrestling Association, again, is split into 7 chapters across the state, starting on the west side from El Paso to Amarillo, all the way down to the valley in the south, up through San Antonio and Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston. 7 chapters across there that split our 357 members as of today. And a great setup. From the state president, we've got an executive board, one person from each of those chapters representing those chapters on the executive board. To that executive board governs and makes the bylaws and decides the things and votes the things at the state level for the Texas Wrestling Officials Association. And then as we break into your chapters, all chapters have a chapter president and a scheduler, and somewhere around a secretary, treasurer, vice president roles there, and rules interpreters that also help along there. Hope you've been able to get on our forum and participate on our forum. There's a lot of discussions that are going on our forum, everything from rules discussions, make the call videos out there, which is great. We get to share some of those videos and discuss with our officials. How would you make the call? We've got a lot of different opinions out there, which is great. Again, with our profession and the sport, as many of you are familiar with, on that judgment calls that are there. So please get active in that forum, ask your questions, get out there, participate in those forums, and be a part of that. That's the only way that we get better, and also to spread that knowledge across the state. So tonight, first of all, the meeting is recorded tonight. We've got a state president forum, and it will be recorded and able to be reviewed after the meeting is over in the coming days, which is excellent. Our state president role is up for election this year, but it actually won't go into effect until after this season is completed. And we changed that a couple of years ago, and I really think it was a good change that we did for the incoming state president to be able to attend some of the meetings and see some of the logistics that go on with operating the state association throughout the year as that last sitting president goes out. This is my last year rolling off of that. So the elected state president will come in and be able to participate in a lot of these meetings and phone calls and logistics and planning of the association, so that there's a very warm handoff after the season goes on, and we're able to switch that over in a good transition. And that was learned from some of our previous transitions in the leadership there. So I think it was a good change, and we're looking forward to that. From some of the first notes, some of you may be wondering when the communication started about a month ago, we had 3 candidates, one out of Dallas, Fort Worth, one out of Houston, one out of El Paso. And as of Friday, Eric Dobie had to withdraw from consideration for some work commitments that he had on there. So what we have tonight is two candidates, two very experienced, tenured candidates in the state of Texas, on the wrestling side and in the leadership side for TWA, Renee Esparza out of El Paso and Jaron Christie out of the Houston chapter. And so as you're just joining the call, please mute your microphones as you come on. A little bit of that. Again, the meeting is going to be recorded. On that, the protocol for what we're going to do, I'll mediate and facilitate the call as best I can, trying to mute people as they come in and let the candidates have their time to speak. We're going to start out with both candidates introducing themselves and somewhat of a platform if they wish to do so. And then after they do that independently, then we'll go through three questions that have been prepared ahead of time last week and sent to them to be able to prepare and answer those however they wish to do that. Once that happens and gets done, if there are any quick questions, we can take those, and then we'll look at the forum for questions. So far in the forum online, we've had 4 questions that are posed by 3 different people, and I'll also be monitoring the chat as best I can for those. Rather than having an open mic session, which all of your mics are hot if you go on, if you unmute yourselves. However, that's not the way we're gonna ask the questions tonight. Please raise your hand if you can, and as those hands come up, I will do my absolute best to try to be as inclusive and diverse on picking those as we go along there, and give both candidates a chance to answer some questions. If a candidate has proposed a direct question on there, we want to make sure that the other candidate also has an opportunity to respond to that question with their feedback as well. We'll take another question for the other candidate as well, and so we'll kind of spread that around the best we can and make the most of our now hour and 23 and a half minutes moving forward. So Jaron, are you try to talk a little bit? Are you to a place you're in a good spot, Jaron? Fortunately, Jaron's in a financial transaction with a vehicle. But in that case, Renee, I don't want to delay things too much longer. If you're okay with it, Renee, we'll go ahead and start on your side. A quick introduction to the state, background, experience, anything you want to share, and then any type of a platform, Renee, on your side. Kick us off.
Well, so yeah, good evening, everybody. Thanks for taking time to be here tonight. Really appreciate your time and effort and making it a point to join. I actually had to step away from one of our chapter meetings tonight that we're having at this time, and we made it mandatory for everybody to come in and take time to be here tonight so that everybody can see what's happening across our great state. So I am Renee Esparza. I have been a TWA official since 1993. I did leave for 4 years to the military, but since then I've been back and very active within the TWA. I've been a state rules interpreter. I've worked directly with several administrations or leaderships that have been in charge with TWA. I've presented at the state clinic, and I'm actually a ranked TWA official in the state of Texas. I've been ranked numerous amount of times in the past couple of years. I think I've officiated well over 18 to 20 state tournaments in that time. And yeah, I look forward to possibly leading you all into the future, or at least for the next couple of years. So again, I really appreciate everybody's time and efforts of being on time tonight and being in place. So thank you. Real quick, there was a couple of questions posed on the forum right off topic. My platform would be to continue to present opportunities outside of Texas. We've had a great networking opportunity with Kim Hernandez, Latrell. They've actually helped me network and get across different states. I've officiated in Iowa. We've had a couple of other great Texas officials also take opportunity into this, along with building female officials. Right, Texas has the biggest female officials in attendance, and other states are recognizing that and reaching out to us and asking how can we get that following. So that's a really great thing, and I want to continue to support that because our female officials are important. I've actually had one of female officials from El Paso join the state tournament in that field. So that's been a great opportunity for us as well. I think each chapter currently has the opportunity to operate anatomically and has operated fantastically, even against the odds of head count or demographics, right? We know that Central Texas has a large demographic. They got to scramble and get so many different places. From large chapters to big chapters, I think we're doing a great job. We're doing the best we can with the numbers that we have. And with the recent, campaign of recruiting, it's really kicking off really well. And I'd like to continue that trajectory of just gaining the numbers. If Central Texas has gained so many new officials, El Paso alone has gained a lot of new officials. But on top of that, retention is very important. Without retention, we can't share knowledge, and we got to figure out how to retain, but not only retain the knowledge from our senior officials, but also figure out a way to utilize them when they're no longer able to get on the mat, maybe as a mentorship or somebody that's going to be an evaluator or somebody that's going to come in and guide our newest officials at the same time as we're positioning state qualified or well-qualified officials to be mentors to lead the new wave of officials coming in. Growth is always on the horizon. It's the best thing that we can do, at the same time retaining our officials. And I think we're just on the great track right now. We really are. It's a great opportunity to be here right now. It's a great opportunity to be part of the TWOA. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, even though I do officiate in New Mexico.
Great, Renee. Appreciate that. Good start and great introduction. Jaron, in a good spot now. You good?
As good as it's going to get, my friend.
Great. Yeah, introduction, Jaron, platform, anything you got to kick us off if you're good.
Yeah, no, I'll just give you a quick introduction. Just over my career, wrestled in high school, college, and with the U.S. team in the 80s and 90s in the U.S. team, and then officiated college and high school since 1997. Did a few state championships, but then stepped away, giving some other people opportunities to get that opportunity at the highest level. I don't believe in working major tournaments too many years in a row because it holds others back. So, 5-6 state tournaments is enough. Then you start mentoring other officials. We've got a great problem here in Houston, and that's a lot of very qualified officials. So we need to step back once in a while and let others step in. Done several national championships, I think 20 or 30 now, including 5 high school national championships. Was ranked out there at the national championships, second 3 times, and in the top 5 the other times I was there at the event. Big Ten championship official now, been there since 2020. Member of the Gulf Coast chapter since 2011, this stint, but I also had a stint from 2001 to 2006 and was in the DFW chapter from 1999 to 2002. Been in the Gulf Coast leadership here since 2011. When I came back to Texas, served as president for a few years, and now serving as president here again this year. Founding member of the Intercollegiate Wrestling Officials Association. That was in 2015. We currently have about 195 members, which is half of the NCAA wrestling officials population. Been an executive board member there since 2015 and past president. Responsible for launching the Excellent to Elite convention that started in 2016. 2023, I became past chair and now mentoring the chair in that position for that convention, which has been a great mentoring and education opportunity for all officials, not just college officials, but we encourage high school officials to attend as well. At work, I'm vice president of the health and safety department, manage 30 professionals directly, and then indirectly responsible for well over 1,000 people and clients out in the field. Rex, do you want me to go on? I know Renee went on to some other stuff. I know we're just trying to fill some time, but did you want to get into the questions?
Trying to fill some time. If you're good there, go ahead and expand on that if you need to.
Yeah. So you just want me to talk about the questions you had, the 3 questions?
Yeah. Well, I was going to go ahead and read them to set them for the whole group if that helps.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. Yeah,
So
I
we'll
guess the only other thing I'd say is, really appreciate everybody taking the time to get on tonight. It's the first time we've ever done this, and I like the format. We've got a lot of great things happening here, and it's been great to be part of it. I was part of getting the evaluation process launched in Texas back in 2015, 2016. And now seeing where it's gone, I think it's really created a lot of opportunities. And we've certainly built a lot of momentum with our female officials coming in, some of the first in the country, and we're seeing them officiate at high levels now across the country. That network started back when I was with the NFHS High School Nationals, or NHSCA High School Nationals, and got a few folks in, and now it's kind of flourished into several members getting opportunities across the country, which has been great. It's always welcome to get a call from another official across the country asking about our Texas officials and their abilities. So always happy to support them when that comes up.
Great, fantastic. Thanks for running through that, Jaron, Renee. And so as we kick off again, the format of this, we've got 3 prepared questions that the candidates have had ahead of time, and there's no surprises here on this. They've seen these, and we'll go through those. And then we've got a couple from the that were posted on the forum, and then also be looking at hands raised as we go through there, trying to give the best amount of time equally to each of those candidates as we go through. So if you can, please raise your hand, and we'll get recognized whenever we've got a time to do that. So Renee, starting off with number 1 with you, and then we'll go to Jaron. What opportunities do you believe are achievable for TWA to continue becoming a nationally respected state from a wrestling officiating standpoint? Renee?
I think continuing the opportunities of networking through different states, opportunities such, sharing officials, providing the opportunities to grow and to officiate those larger tournaments outside of the state will get us good recognition. You know, national tournaments and stuff like that will always get us good recognition. And then more often not, there's NCAA evaluators at those tournaments, and they are turning around on evaluations for those officials. And 9 times out of 10, our Texas officials are ranking well and have great feedback, which is a good reflection upon what the state is doing. So I think if we continue that wave, we're going to be right in front of everything and right in the action. So it's a good opportunity, especially for the high school level.
Fantastic. Thanks, Renee. Jaron, same question.
Yeah, our exposure at the national level events is key, and I think the officials we have that are performing at the NCAA level lay the groundwork for those officials working their way up through the high school events and then on to bigger things. We also have a lot of USA officials starting to surface at the highest levels of USA wrestling, so we're getting some international exposure there, which is good. On the female and male side of that, our officials moving into that college level is great. We've had several over the past few years that have moved in there and still maintain their high school officiating as well. I think, from a state level, we have to get a ranking process developed, and it has to be transparent. There has to be evaluations, and the ranking of those officials has to be communicated with them so they kind of know where they're going and know what's coming next for them. We as senior officials and leaders in this group need to be pushing the younger officials to opportunities outside of the state that are nationally recognized, which we have been doing. There's a large network out there, and there's several people working within that network. So I think creating those mentoring opportunities locally at the chapter level and across the state is going to be key to us continuing to grow and be recognized across the country and even outside of the country in this sport when it comes to officiating. At those 2 different levels, which is the USA Wrestling and the NFHS Wrestling, or most call it folk style wrestling.
Great, thanks for that, Jaron. John and Joe, I see your hands up. Let me get through these other 2 questions, and then we'll take some feedback from you guys in that order. Jaron, to you first. How do you believe the organization, leadership model, chapter makeup serves or not the member schools in the state? Jaron first.
Yeah, that's an interesting one too. I think our member schools right now appear to be fairly well represented and pretty equitable across the state. But with the changing landscape we have in wrestling as a whole, it continues to be the fastest growing sport in the NFHS sports. That said, women's wrestling is really the growth there is unbelievable. So we're seeing teams pop up in areas now that aren't really part of the major metroplexes. I think we're going to have to consider at the TWA level either adding chapters to cover these areas, expanding those coverage areas, or even consider aligning with the UIL geography, the regional geography, to better serve those member schools.
Good. Appreciate that. Renee, how do you believe the organization, leadership model, chapter makeup serves or not the member schools in the state?
I think we have been operating at a well occupancy, and obviously with the growth, we will have to change and stuff like that. But I think each chapter has the opportunity within themselves with their support group, and obviously with the support of the state president and the executive board memberships, to create new opportunities within their own chapter, to allow for that growth and the support of each high school that they're representing at that time, at this time.
Great. Thanks, guys, for that. Going to the third question, Renee, to start, and Jaron coming in second. Renee, what's your plan to increase training and mentorship opportunities for all officials across the state to reach their goals?
I think we got to utilize the tools that we have within, right? Senior leaders or senior mentors, senior officials who are looking to maybe step aside a little bit, maybe get a new opportunity to become a mentor. Maybe not so much time on the mat, but in a different capacity, a training capacity. Ensuring that our new officials are led by somebody that is state qualified or at a qualification level to be able to mentor them and guide them through the processes, and to be able to achieve that next level or get to that next ranking, if you will. It's important to utilize the tools that we have, and then obviously look for a new opportunity to gain knowledge outside, even if it's from outside, not necessarily within, but within is always the best opportunity, utilizing the tools that we have in front of us.
Thanks, Renee, for that. Jaron, plan to increase training and membership opportunities for all officials across the state to reach their goals.
Yeah, that's another pretty broad question. Renee had some good points. But I think I look at this and, we can always rely on people to mentor and train. We really need to get some structure around it. We need to look at developing a training committee that can focus on all forms of adult learning for our officials. So, if it's the younger folks coming in that need to get on the mat and get experience versus maybe a coach transitioning to us, it's all different, and there's all different ways for us to teach them. There's classroom training, CBT training, there's on the mat training. We're experimenting with some things here in Houston, the Gulf Coast chapter this year, that have been very successful. And we actually had 49 new members start just this last week, and 22 of them are already ready for lower level varsity competition, in our opinion. So it's really been great doing this by committee. The other piece is a mentoring committee. So we need a mentoring committee to share ideas across the state, help other chapters that may not be started with it or need some support with it, or maybe somebody moves away and the committee's got to step in and help out. But those committees, we typically do a lot better when we work by committee. We don't have things get lost that way. The other thing is we're going to have to leverage technology. So there's a lot of work with AI right now. It's been pretty interesting at the national level, seeing what AI can do. There's actually some AI models that are being used to even evaluate officials, if you can believe that or not, which is really neat. If we could harness that, it's going to be a good opportunity for us. We got to support chapters and provide chapters with guidance through a proven process. So, I think at the state level, getting that process identified, showing them how something is done, how the cake is baked, it'll help, especially when you have new chapters starting up or new leadership coming in. And we have to find a way to keep our aging officials involved and interested. We have, several here in the Gulf Coast that have reached back out just this last year after a leadership change and want to get re-involved. And we can do that through evaluations is a really good way to do that, but also just mentoring young officials on maybe having a conversation with them after a match, but having some of that scripted to where they can actually address specific things with these officials. We had a call with our officials last night, and it was just a good mentoring opportunity really for all those young officials to understand how pay is done, how schedules are done, why you check with coaches about events. So I think all those things are going to be important for us, but we've got to provide feedback, mentoring, and coaching to the young officials, and then obviously give them support to get to a higher level if they want to go there. It's just something we can all help with. We've got officials from this state at all levels of officiating across the country at this point in time. The next piece is building the relationships and then using those relationships to gain opportunities for our officials working their way up.
Appreciate that, guys. Thanks for going through that and covering those questions. Again, we've got a couple in the forum we'll get to, but John, you've had your hand up first and a question first. Give you the first shot at doing that. Again, reminding everyone, if you have a question, please raise your hand and I'll get you recognized as we get it and have the opportunity to get to both candidates. John?
Thanks, Rex. Appreciate it. As everybody knows, Texas is a large state, and just Jaron, I think you touched on this a little bit. Renee, I don't know, not so much. There's 7 chapters. 4 chapters cover roughly 35% of the wrestling that goes on, and the other 3 cover remaining 65%. But yet those 4 smaller chapters have a 57% voting block when it comes to state. So doesn't seem equitable. I just want to hear from the candidates of what their solution is to the larger chapters versus the smaller chapters when it comes to anything, at least at the UIL level or the state voting level. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Hey, Jared, we'll go to you first since you ended the last one.
Ready? 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, you catch it like that, but it's okay. We'll have the record stuff first. Well, it's not okay. No, do your arm roll thing. Yeah.
Jaron.
Hey, Jared, try me again, Jared.
Somebody muted me, huh? Okay. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Got you. Jared,
Okay.
Sorry again, you're the first one for John's question on the parity in the chapters.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And, serving on the executive board this year, that's a question that I've brought up is the equity for the large chapters versus the small chapters, because we do have some issues when it comes to a chapter of we'll say 80 to 100 officials being looked at the same as a chapter of maybe 10 or 15 officials. I think all the officials are important. We've thrown some ideas in there about adding executive board members for chapters who have larger groups and giving them more representation, so it's by membership, or even looking at what I'd said earlier of maybe realigning with the UIL to get into 4 regions that are equally represented with members and leadership at the board level. So it's something this board's going to have to, or this group's going to have to look at, and I think we need to do a better job of listening to our members with their concerns. Right now, my personal opinion is the equity of smaller chapters having the same voting power as a larger chapter needs to be addressed.
Great, appreciate that, Jaron. Renee, same question. You're on mute.
Coming from a smaller chapter, I believe sometimes it's not necessarily about the quantity, but it's about the quality. You can have 100, 200 officials, but how many are you really producing that are state quality or varsity level officials? I understand that you want to have a bigger vote or a bigger or higher leverage because you have more people, but you're now smothering these smaller chapters who will in truth go away. So as a smaller chapter, I want you all to think about that. What is being said at this time. What they're saying is larger chapters will take over the state, and in truth, you will never have a voice. So I don't think that's the route to go. The best way to go is to meet with one another and figure out an idea, but smothering smaller chapters because you have more people at your place doesn't necessarily mean you're producing quality officials. It just means you have more people.
I'd like to rebut that, Rex, if I can.
Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, no, Renee, I totally respect where you're coming from, and I understand that. I think it's unfair to say that someone's going to get smothered. What I'm suggesting is that we need to add voting power for members. When you have 80 members that have the same voting power as, we'll say, 15 members, we just need to make it equitable. So maybe that chapter with 80 officials should have 2 members on the executive board, which gives them a little more voting power. Because the fact of the matter is, you know, and I'm just going to say it, that most of the state tournament selection is a popularity contest, and people get selected based on votes from a chapter, and that needs to be addressed.
But so I'd like to rebut on that.
Go ahead.
Does each chapter have an equal executive board member to lobby for their own association members? And does each executive board members
No, the
vote?
executive board members are
does
assigned by a
everybody-
chapter, but the executive board members are to represent membership. So there is no executive board member that fights for a chapter. A chapter president fights for chapter members. But the executive board member is elected, or appointed, I should say, by the chapter, and then they are to represent all members of TWA, not a specific chapter.
Mhm.
Appreciate that. Thanks, guys. Going to take one from the forum here. Renee first. This is a bit of a long one. I'll try to summarize from Eric Lowe. How can the TWA grow popularity of the sport in the state? So he's got some experience wrestled in Ohio back in the day. I think he's pointing to junior high feeder programs, things like that. In wrestling, you have the same and equal opportunities at weight class. So it would enable more students. I want to say I think this is more geared toward promotion of junior high wrestling, which is really, I don't think, in our purview, but give you a chance to respond to that, Renee, if you saw the question in the forum.
I mean, currently right now in El Paso, and I know a couple of other locations or a couple of other chapters and cities, junior high is live and well. We're running junior high tournaments in conjunction with high school tournaments. Not all school districts are on board just yet, but it's coming around. I think right now we actively have 3 school districts that are participating with junior high. That's something that we would have to work with. And again, like Rex said, this really isn't a TWA thing, but we definitely could, you know, work with coaches and talk with them on how to get that involved, or how we can help get that involved. You know, partnership and continuity are definitely a plus with that, you know. So I'd definitely love to partner with other people on ideas on how to get that to increase.
Got it. Thanks, Renee. Jared, to you on the possibility of increasing the wrestling at a junior high level, feeding UIL high school.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that from the officiating side, other than making sure we have qualified officials to work events. You know, if the chapters get involved with local schools, helping them start programs, there's a possibility there where we could have an arm of our chapter that's able to help get wrestling going in a specific area. I myself grew up in Wisconsin. It is a different animal up there. You know, you don't have to be a high school teacher to be a high school coach. You don't have to lease the facility to have a wrestling club. The coach just kind of opens it up for you. So there are some challenges in Texas that are in front of us, but I think as a whole, it's just being part of the sport and being willing to go out there and help support wherever you are, any kind of local efforts to get wrestling going. Talking about it, speaking about it, getting into administrative situations where you can help make decisions about it are all going to be keys.
Great. Thanks, Jared. Next question, again from the forum. If anybody has a question online, please raise your hand and get recognized, and we'll open it up. There's also some things in the chat. I'll try to catch up on some of those. And again, I'm just trying to find the first one there. One asked, Jaron, what happened to, Jaron, you first, what happened to the ranking committee that was established a few seasons ago?
Yeah, that was a great committee. And I think, you know, the first year of work, we put some great information out. Not everybody maybe necessarily agreed with it, but I think the logic behind it was there and it was explained. The second year, or second and a half year, I should say, we went to go do it. The current state president at the time put a lot of handcuffs on that committee that was supposed to run independent, and dictated how we were going to do what we were doing. And at that point in time, there was an impasse in how we were going to lead. My personal opinion, the evaluation and ranking committee cannot be directly influenced by the state president. They work for the executive board, and they're an independent body that has to be represented that way. That committee itself was made up of members from each chapter. And again, I think it was running really well, but we got a 4-page expectation laid on us on how we were going to do it, and what we were going to do, and what we were going to change from the previous year. And we couldn't come to agreement, and just stop doing that. It's came somewhat of a popularity contest again, and it just doesn't work that way, in my opinion.
Great. Renee, any input to that? I want to give you a chance. I'm not sure if you had any input or feedback for that.
I think, any type of initiative that we start, we need to make sure that we see it all the way through, regardless of any pushback, drawback, or bumpy roads that we get. We have to come together, especially if it's about growth and opportunity for, new opportunity, or our newest officials in becoming better. We have to see the project through regardless. You can't just take your ball and run because people don't agree with what you're saying. That's not right for the future of our association. It's not right for our future members. So that's definitely something that I would, even if it's not viewed as a state president support piece, I would definitely try to get myself involved to make sure that any type of process like that is seen through all the way through. So
Great. Thanks, Renee. Appreciate the feedback on both of that. I'm scrolling back through the chat. Jesse, you had a hand up earlier in the chat. Jesse Diaz.
All right, here we go. Jaron, last season you sent a list of 10 grievances about TWA directly to the UIL athletic leadership, bypassing both local and state structures. The UIL declined to act. Why did you circumvent the TWOA processes, and how does this demonstrate the collaborative, team-oriented leadership needed for the state presidential role?
Well, Jesse, first of all, I can tell you're reading from a list that must have been given to you by someone to create a question. So I don't know that question's really authentic.
Chat GPT, bud. Chat GPT.
And I don't know that you really know the situation, but yes, I did work with the UIL last year. We had some major issues within the TWA that still exist to this day, that need to be addressed. And the UIL did act on it, actually. There were some things that were done that I can't share on this call, but there's a reason why I'm here sitting here tonight talking to the state with an opportunity to become the state president.
Okay. By bypassing the TLW processes, how will the statewide officials trust you and respect you going through the right proper channels? How are we going to know that you're going to go through the right channels?
Jesse,
by
again,
bypassing?
Jesse,
Bro,
you're
listen,
making allegations.
answer the question.
Yes, sir, Jesse, sir. I don't know that you know that there was anything bypassed. The issue was at the local level. It was presented to the state level, and then on to the UIL, who actually asked me the question. So there was nothing bypassed by the TWA, but I do believe every member should have the right to speak to whoever they need to right or wrong. To be frank, we had election tampering in the Gulf Coast chapter. It was supported by much of the leadership, and it needed to be addressed. We've addressed that through voting now, and we still have some things to sew up on the investigation of that from last year.
Great. Renee, any inputs on that? I think Jesse's question centered around the process of communication. I believe I'm just trying to write it down.
Coming from the military, there's definitely a chain of command. There is, but everybody does need a voice or somewhere to sound off to, and everybody needs to feel safe. So that doesn't advocate or make circumventing any type of process okay. if somebody in a local chapter has an issue, they need to they need to talk to somebody else, maybe another executive board member or somebody outside of the chapter, prior to just going straight to the top. It's a respect factor. It's a growth factor. It's chain of command. But I do agree with the fact that everybody needs a voice. Everybody should be able to speak or feel safe in what they're saying without any type of retaliation. So but circumventing process is not the right route.
Sure. Appreciate that,
So
guys.
Rex, I'm going to make a statement that what Jesse has stated is an accusation. It's not true. Renee's tried to support that. There was no circumventing of any system. It was very, very well documented and very well handled.
I'm only supporting chain of command. I'm not supporting anything else.
Yep.
Please don't retaliate against me in any way, please, sir.
I don't know how I'd even do that, Jesse, or why I would.
Next question from Clayton Martin. Clayton and Renee will go first on the answer. Clayton, are you there?
Okay. Yeah, it's something like double clicking on the mouse. It's sensitive. Question has to do, so during your first year as president, when you're actually by yourself and not shadowing the current president, what will TWA look like as compared to what it looks like today?
I think the way we're operating right now, currently I am part of the executive board and a chapter president. The way we're operating right now, we're on a good path. Are there things that could be changed? Sure, but that would take collaboration and companionship across the state with all executive board members and state president. Chapter president. So just building unity and cohesion within the chapters to where there's not how would you call it? There's no resentment towards one another or hatred or jealousy or anything like that. We have a brotherhood. We used to have a brotherhood a long time ago, and that brotherhood has gone away. And I want to get that brotherhood back. Okay, I'm all about sharing. I'm all about having fun, having good time, and not being so political. But some few years ago, it's changed into a political mess. And I'm in truth, I'm over it. I want to get back to the good times. Clayton, you remember those times. You're even wearing like a 1980s referee shirt. But in truth, I want to get away from this political madness. I want to work cohesive with my partners. I want to continue to grow the chapters. It doesn't have to be the way it is right now. And we can't get anywhere because of the power trip, because of the I can do this better than you, or because I don't like what you're saying. I'm going to take my ball and I'm going to go home.
Sure. Appreciate that. Renee, Jaron, to you.
Yeah, no, I think Renee talks about brotherhood. I look across most of the state. We've got a great brotherhood. Most of the chapters work really well together. Everybody's doing well. We've got a lot of great things happening. I'm reading through the chats and I see Mr. Lyons is on to try and continue to push questions and narratives that aren't true. I think, Renee, to address your comment about political, I don't think there's anything political going on. I think what's happening is we have some members that are strong enough and brave enough to stand up and call out some injustices that need to be dealt with. And that's what's happening. And people don't like that. They don't like to be called out when they do something that isn't right. Some decisions have been made based on false information or things being covered up. We're here to make those right. And that's my goal, is to get these right. This needs to be a transparent organization. We need to have transparency across the board in our decision making. In our, there's only so many opportunities to work the state tournament. Why do those 30 get selected? Who selected them and why? What got them there? There's only so many opportunities to work a regional tournament. Why did people get selected for that? We should have different leadership coming in. And to answer the question about how it would look different, my goal would be to move most of the current leadership, including myself, out and get new leaders representing TWOA. We've got leaders that have been here way too long. Me serving in a leadership role since 2014 at the local chapter level is too long. We need other people stepping up, serving at the state level. And no offense, Rex, love you to death. You know, multiple state president roles. It's not good for the chapter. We need other people stepping up, and we need other people leading and having their ideas, you know, spread across TWA. Things are changing. We need to conversate about it. We need to all get along for sure, but we can't do that based on people not being honest about what's happening or putting false narratives out, trying to defame someone and push them out of the way.
Great, thanks for that. Got one hand raised, but let me go to a forum question if we can. Jaron first. This is from Adam Everson. How has each candidate helped advance the TWA organization as a whole and provide opportunity for other officials outside of your home chapter?
Yeah, great question. So, you know, outside of the home chapter, with my time here at TWA Gulf Coast, we've promoted a lot of officials across the state into other chapters. We've also promoted many into the college ranks and into the national level ranks. I've supported some other officials getting opportunities at the national level across the state. And usually support means just being able to have a conversation with someone and confirm that their abilities are there. The evaluation process we put in place back in 2016 and 2017 really had a lot to do with getting opportunities for officials to work outside the state. We started bringing evaluators in that were part of the national program, our national circuit, and they started seeing some of our officials and giving them opportunities. So that was a great team we had back then that put that together and made it happen. And I think the opportunities have come because of it. You know, opportunities mean a lot of different things. Is it officiating opportunities? Is it leadership opportunities? Is it opportunities to mentor and grow? There's several ways to look at it, but I've done quite a bit of that throughout my career here. The one thing I haven't done a lot of is served on the executive board at the state level or at the state president level. This is my first year as a state executive board member. Other than that, I've been at the local chapter leading. So right now our plans are to get that local chapter operating with their own leadership, and we can continue to lead at the state and national level.
Thanks for that. Jaron, Renee, same question. How have you helped advance TWA organization as a whole and provide opportunity for other officials outside your home chapter?
Gosh, where do I start? You know, one of the things that we've done is we've worked with fellow schedulers that, you know, I mean, obviously El Paso's far, and we have to work with our schedulers and our other chapters to maybe bring somebody over here or get somebody over there. But we've worked hand in hand with Amarillo, San Antonio, to get people out this way or vice versa. To the point where, you know, somebody said, how are we going to pay for that? That's a good question. Well, in El Paso, you know what we do? We sacrifice a little bit of our cut. That's what we do. We sacrifice a little bit of our money off the top of what our officials are getting paid to get those officials over here. And 9 times out of 10, we're either putting those officials that are coming to visit us in one of our homes, or we're getting the coaches to help us out with rooming. But we are always welcome to have people come out this way, and we're always willing to travel. So you ask anybody that's willing to travel, El Paso travels, and we're always willing to travel and just spread that love and bring people out this way. And we will sacrifice our own dime, John, to get you out here, but you have to want to come. I know you guys don't want to come to El Paso. Nobody wants to come to El Paso, but you ask, and there it is. But they do it. I've had officials that have come from San Antonio. They actually went to the state tournament shortly after that. I've had people come from Amarillo, state qualified officials later after that. But I mean, you got to want to do it. It's not just up to, I can want everything for you and for your chapter and for your officials, but we got to want people to do it. Jaron's saying that, hey, I'm moving out, then move out. Let somebody else in, but there has to be somebody else that wants to get into that position. I cannot say I can leave my post unguarded and not have faith in somebody that's not willing to step into that role. If nobody's willing to step into that role, I will stay here as a father figure until it's time. It has to be that way. You cannot step out of the way and let somebody step in and let the association or the people fail. TWA and the association will fall on their face if all senior leadership falls out of the way and does not provide any mentorship or any leadership. If you force everybody out, you are going to lose the graybeards. You are going to lose the Jim Engstrings, and you're going to lose all of those people because you're forcing them out. Nobody should be forced out. And if nobody wants to step into a leadership role, you have to stay for the better of the association, for the better of the good. That's just the way it is.
Thanks, Renee. Appreciate that. 2 hands raised, and then we'll go back to a forum question from Dan next. So the first one is Mark, and then next to Carlos, and then Gabe. Mark first.
There I am. Absolutely. Thanks, Rex. Am I on? I'm good.
Got it.
Okay. Okay. This one comes down to be quite frank, it has to do with leadership style, of course. But Jared, as you know, during the 2023 state president nomination, where Rex was nominated by Houston to be the candidate. Okay. At that time, you were president of TWA Houston, and the remaining executive board members voted 5-1 to nominate Rex Anderson over you, despite the fact that you were the chapter president at the time. Okay. It was clear that we just voted that Rex was a better pick for this. Okay. So with that said, and I was, of course, on that board, what does it indicate about your leadership style, which you touted at the beginning of this whole thing, your communication style, and be quite frank, your relationships with your own board, the board at that time, when they overwhelmingly refused to support your candidacy? What does that say about your, again, leadership style, communication style, and relationships when the entire board voted against you to put Rex in over you?
Yeah, Mark, I'll answer that. I think what's been found since that time is that entire board has been voted out. They are no longer in existence in the Gulf Coast, and most of them picked up their ball and ran, including you, shutting down our website. And we got that back. So what had happened at the time is somebody stood up to the board that was not doing what should have been done and really facing the issues and dealing with them, what the members wanted. They were just doing what they wanted to do. So this membership surrounded themselves around me, and we voted that board out. That board no longer exists. And now we're under investigation to have final decisions on what the fate of those members of that board will be for the actions they had. That's really all I want to say about that at this time, Mark. I think you know the background there, and I know exactly what you're trying to do. You probably wrote the questions for Jesse too, so it's okay. I'm a big boy, I can handle it.
Okay, I'm going to rebut that. What's interesting about what you said there was the fact that right after that happened, you sent a very lengthy apology letter to all of us, which has been documented. And what you said was the fact that you did wrong, you apologized, you called up all 5 of the people, I'm sorry, 3 of the 5 people, and said that you were having issues, quote unquote, whatever that was. And matter of fact, what you said in a letter documented was the fact that, you know what, I think I'm going to resign from this chapter. I apologize for my actions. I should have never done it. And then what you said, I think I'm going to leave the chapter. And then you said, although it's not in the documentation that we have, but you said, I think I'm going to join another chapter. So how do you reply to that when you apologize to the group at the time and then you went away? How do you explain your apology letter to the whole board that you screwed up by being a bully to everybody and being autocratic, which is one of your main personality traits? And we said, we're not doing this. I see this personally, and you well know this because you worked for me for 1.5 years. I know that you like to bully people, and that's exactly.
Hey, Jared, I'll cut it there.
Yeah,
go ahead.
this is ridiculous.
Jared, I'll go ahead. Go ahead if you have a rebuttal to that.
Yeah, I don't even have a rebuttal for Mark. He's obviously got a personal vendetta against me that he continues to grind. I thought we were past a lot of that, but I guess what I would say is if you look at my experience, go on LinkedIn, I can share it with you or whatever. My leadership has been existent since 1998. I guess before that on the college wrestling team and with our USA team, I've always been team captain, leading, supporting other people. Obviously, there's an issue between Mark and I that needs to be resolved, but you know, the local chapter at the time surrounded me and asked me to step in and continue to lead, and that's what we're doing. So, you know, it's a group effort. I'm a little shocked Mark wants to get on and bring up personal stuff. So whatever.
No,
I don't know what his question for Renee was, but I guess it was just me.
appreciate that. Renee, any feedback to that one? If not, we'll go to Gabe for the next question.
I have nothing.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Gabe, next.
Yeah, hey guys. Kind of want to just get away from that back and forth, but really it's just to both of candidates. What I really want to see is the relatability to being the president of TWA. And with that, want to see recently what's been worked through UIL and TWA by both candidates. So within the last year or two, how many UIL events have you both worked, and state championships, regionals, or whatnot?
Great. Renee, throw it to you first and then Jaron. Thanks, Gabe.
Wow, Gabe. State tournaments. Countless.
Really just like in the last 2 years, basically.
Yeah, I've been there the last 3 or 4 years. Same with regional assignments as well. Yep, had my hand in the pot and everything.
Sure.
Present and accounted for.
Okay. Renee, Jaron, next.
Yeah, no, we've had a great situation here in the Gulf Coast where it's allowed me to step back and allow other members to step in and work state tournaments and regional tournaments. We really just haven't had the ability to put someone in a regional state tournament. I've stepped away the last 2 years prior to this year on the UIL side and did not work much high school wrestling the last couple of years as I worked in my college career. I'm now a Big Ten championship official. I've been there a few years. Last year, I worked 3 national championship events. This year now, I'm back in working some high school. I've got 5 or 6 assignments in Wisconsin. I've got, I think, 7 assignments right now in Texas. I just worked one this last Wednesday at Foster High School at Tri. You know, I guess my belief, Gabe, is I've worked the state tournaments. If I can go serve in a mentoring role or an evaluation role and help some of our young, aspiring new officials get that opportunity, I'm more than happy to do that. I think we have a lot of capable and competent officials that stay home every year because other officials are working multiple year over year over year, going back to the state tournament and not stepping aside and letting other members come in. Sometimes that's because they want to represent their chapter, but what happens is quality members that need the opportunity or deserve the opportunity in other chapters sit at home because we have officials working their 18th state tournament or their 20th state tournament. It's just a difference in philosophy. Could I go work the state tournament? Sure. Would love to go work it if I had the opportunity. Do I need to? No, because I feel guilty taking those opportunities from these young officials that are working their way up, and that is their main goal in their career right now is to work a state tournament.
Okay, but my main follow-up with that was for both of you, and I completely understand about trying to step aside or whatnot, is that with college or whatnot, and some of us are college officials, will that take away from your priority of being TWA president if you have college officials? And believe me, man, when I saw you do Penn State, Iowa, I was like, yeah, that's awesome. But suppose you get selected to the big dance or you get selected for other high profile tournaments. How would that career interact with this career? And are you fully capable of being able to concentrate on being our TWA president and not be affected with other responsibilities or other things going on in your career?
Yeah, I think as a leader, you shoulder all that and you figure out how to work through it. I think the benefit of being at that level is just this week I had a question about, and I won't tell you which one, but I had a question about one of our Texas officials getting invited into a D1 conference. If we don't have those relationships at the highest levels through TWA, which is through me at this point in time, and a few others, but if we don't have those relationships, we're not going to have the opportunities for TWA to grow. So the ability to manage from the president role, that's also an interesting question, because the responsibility of managing TWA doesn't really lie on the president as much as it does the whole executive board. Organizing meetings, making sure that things are done when they're supposed to be done, are all administrative tasks that can be scheduled whenever. Attending events. There's only one president, and there's only one or two executive boards that can really make it around. So it's unrealistic to think that the president's going to be at every place every weekend. But the responsibility of the president is to have representatives from the executive board that can attend most or all events on behalf of TWA, and then make sure that feedback is transparent. I think, again, one of the biggest things we have to overcome right now is the transparency in some of our processes and things that have been put in place.
Appreciate that. Jaron, Renee, on your side?
I'd just like to point out that at no point did Jaron say he would be part of the state tournament at that time. He kind of circumvented the whole question.
Is that what you're asking? Is that what you're asking?
But to answer your question, Gabriel, yes, I will be at the state tournament in a state president capacity. And if I was to have if I was an NCAA official, I would not sacrifice the TWA position that I'd been handed or granted to by the state chapters. So, and I am president at all of my meetings, regardless of life events. I make time, even for calendar events that have been scheduled out for over a week. I make sure to be part of that on time. So I'd just like to point that out, that my time and dedication towards my chapter and towards the TWA is 100%.
Yeah, if you're asking, I'll be at the state tournament, Gabe. That's, if that's part of the role of the state president, which it is at this time, that's not a problem. My personal opinion, I don't know if the state president needs to be the head official at the state tournament. Maybe the state board should be appointing a head official at the state tournament. It's something that needs to be looked at.
So I'd just like to point out as well that Jaron likes to delegate a lot of duties so that he doesn't have to step into those roles.
Yeah, Renee, we're not going to take shots. That's what a leader does. They build up their team. They give them opportunities to grow. They don't come in and just do the work. They build a team that learns how to grow, and they learn to grow together, and you put process and protocol in place so it can be repeated after. Yeah, that's pretty an unfair statement. Delegation's not the case. One state president can't do it all. There's no way you can do it all. And if you are and you get hit by a bus, then what happens? No one else is doing it. So it's operating by committee is the best way, especially in a volunteer organization.
Yeah, appreciate that, guys. Moving on, a couple of the questions Jeremiah asked as related to this last question that was just answered. Yes, Jeremiah, the TWA state president is the head official for the UIL state tournament as part of the current bylaws. That's just current bylaws that are in place there for that. John Davis next, and then to Jake, and then a forum question from Dan is next. John?
Hey, thanks again, Rex. Many of you might know or might not know, excuse me. About a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, I was thrust into the Austin leadership position to the removal of our president. The first person I reached out to was Jaron. He gave me all the guidance and everything I needed to do to keep this chapter running. I communicate with him constantly, not as much as I should nowadays, as I'm not the president. But if you want somebody to run your organization, he is constantly available. And my wife is like, "Do you have a new boyfriend?" He will talk your ear off, and probably to the detriment of his own family. But I couldn't give a bigger push for Jaron. Thank you.
Appreciate that, John. Jake, your question.
Yeah, so earlier in the conversation, both you guys had talked about allowing, and some of you talking about your experience and stuff, and how many times you guys have done the state tournament or whatever. But my question for both of you is do you feel like the ranking system needs like a refresh or an overhaul to maybe make it a little more transparent? And how would you do that to help elevate the new or lower level officials to get them up to the level where they could be calling it at the state tournament?
Thanks for that, Jake. Jaron, your question first.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. That great question, and really, honestly, probably the biggest thing that drives me is that right there, the passion about rankings and evaluations. I've been through the ranks, and I've had to work my way up the ladder, and for the most part, I would say it's not fair because it's not transparent and it's not easily understood unless you know someone that's going to walk you through it. So my goal would be to make that transparent, let people know exactly where they're at through feedback and conversation within the local chapter, but then leading up to the state chapter. In Houston this year, we are piloting a evaluation and ranking app where every official will be asked to get 5 or more rankings from evaluating officials. That information gets sent straight back to the official, and then the ranking and information is specifically shared with the executive team and the officials here locally, so everyone knows where they're at. Feedback on the official's performance is also given to the official, and she'll have the opportunity to share that if they would like to, because we can learn through that. We did have a process that was going well. I think that can be resurrected and have some of the constraints taken off of it and allow an evaluations and ranking committee to run with that and continue to build on it. A good base was built. But I do think there's an opportunity to rank officials across the state. If it's not every official, it's at least the top 100. Is it going to be perfect? No, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to get close. And then state tournament selections can be made based off of that ranking versus, somewhat of a popularity contest. And that's, to be transparent again, that's where the state process has gotten to, where it's, buddies getting taken care of and rankings getting moved around. And it's not transparent. It has to come from an evaluator that's independent to a third-party committee that's not tied to the state executive board, and is then posted to officials without interference from anyone anywhere else.
Renee, you're next.
So yeah, we know that a while back the ranking committee was tried to establish, and then it fell through the cracks. I believe Jaron was spearheading that project, which again didn't finish. Since then, we've done multiple avenues of state evaluations, from bringing in NCAA qualified evaluators who have provided feedback. It's a growing process. This year we have Matt Boss, and we're sharing that information across the state. That was brought on by Kim. Great tool right there to be used across the state to share information, because, to John Davis's point, not everybody can always travel, but sharing video, sharing feedback of upcoming officials is a great way. This is a great avenue to go by. And it does provide on-site real-time feedback to our association members. And there's always opportunity to grow, always opportunity to change, but it's a matter of cohesion and working together and seeing through the process, regardless of if you're tasked with a big list to accomplish or not. You see something through to make sure for the better of the good.
Yeah, Renee, I would say that's twice now you said that the committee didn't finish. Actually, the committee did finish. We had a great product. The current president at the time tried to overtake that and tell us how we were going to do things. So we came at an impasse. Jaron didn't stop. Jaron just asked for us to have some ability to operate on our own, and that was not granted by the current state president or put in front of the executive board. So the committee stopped working at that point in time. The state executive board could have assigned a new chair. They could have done anything they wanted to do with it, but they chose not to go that way. Again, the reality of it is, if that committee is not going to be allowed to work independently and transparently, then it should not exist. So that would have to be resurrected. But that project was finished. That project is there. It can still be resurrected. There is no doubt about it. And as far as the NCAA evaluators, I'm the one that brought those in. That was my relationships that brought those in. Since those NCAA evaluators have not come in the last few years, we've now brought in high school evaluators. And, you know, last year brought in one of our own former members or current members to evaluate. That wasn't really looked on very well. But those NCAA evaluators came through my relationships and my requirement or my request. And that is how we had a lot of opportunity for our officials working up into the ranks into the NCAAs and high school nationals the last few years.
Renee, any feedback on that? We'll go to the next question if not.
No, I've got
Okay, next
Thank you
question.
both. Thank you both for your response.
You bet.
Thanks, Jake. From posted in the forum from Dan Lang. What professional experience do you have or bring to the table with executive leadership boards? What previous board level experience do you possess? How will that help you lead TWA as it adheres to governance, fiduciary standards, transparency, management of the organization? Renee, yours first.
Executive board leadership. I really don't have executive board leadership. I did serve in the Army. I led an airborne operations team that provided the first 24 hours communication for Special Forces and 101st Airborne. So I think I'm pretty good at leading some people. Currently, I support a team of implementation that support a HRB business product for one of the world's largest pay platforms. And I support over 75 associates who have well over 1,000 clients coming into the company. I do sit on a board, or I guess a product management, if you will, to improve products to ensure that our clients are satisfied and everybody gets paid on time. So I guarantee half of the people on this call get paid by the company I work for.
Great. Appreciate that, Renee. Jared?
Yeah, I've been serving on executive boards since I was in college at the local level, college-wise, with American Society of Safety Professionals and our Fellowship of Christian Athletes board at the college, into my professional career serving with American Society of Safety Professionals in the Dallas area, as well as on the executive board for the Dallas-Fort Worth chapter during those years. I guess in more recent years, which is probably more relevant, I'm currently the executive vice president for Sabre Power Services, the company I work for, serving in an executive capacity there. I, of course, serve on the executive board here in the Gulf Coast chapter of TWA and the state chapter of TWA as the executive board rep. I am the current past president of the American Society of Safety Professionals Gulf Coast chapter, which is a membership of about 1,600 members here locally. I was president for 3 years there and on the executive board for the last 8 years in that chapter as well, now serving as past president. Serve on several committees for leadership, training, professional development, as well as our Intercollegiate Wrestling Officials Association board, where I served as president and past president, and now serve as treasurer and chair, or past chair of the Excellent to Elite Conference Committee. I think all that said, and some references made earlier to getting back to having fun, what we've run across at TWA, and really this is across the whole country with executive boards, is governance issues the last few years. For those of you in the legal part of business or insurance like myself, the litigious side of what we do is becoming very, very difficult to manage, and executive boards and nonprofits are having to really dig into their governance to make sure they're protected. I mean, shoot, this executive board didn't even have to have a policy, an insurance policy, a directors and officers policy until a couple years ago, but we sure need it now. Because the reality of it is, when you serve on these boards, you're making decisions and you're opening yourself to legal action from anybody that seems to feel that we've done something inappropriate. So my experience is very vast in the executive board side, especially in the nonprofits and even in for-profit businesses, Rex.
Excellent. Thanks for that feedback, guys, on that question. One question from the chat. Sorry, I'm scrolling back up. From Latrell. If we want the best officials at the tournament due to the ranking process to officiate the best wrestlers in the state, why would we deny them that opportunity to give the lower ranked officials that opportunity? I think that was from some comments earlier. Jaron, I'll give that to you first. I think that was yours.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's a great thought. You know, again, we've got a great situation, and Luttrell is from our local chapter here, and I'll use us as an example. Here in the Gulf Coast chapter, we have well over 30 members who have called state tournaments and are available to call the state tournament. If we only took the best people here every year that ranked the highest, our new members wouldn't have an opportunity to grow and get an opportunity at the state tournament. So we have to rotate them. We have to give people opportunities. You know, I don't think this president role necessarily has to do with ability on the mat. It's ability to govern, and its ability to lead, and its ability to manage governance within an organization. Me personally, and just to be transparent, my focus has been on college wrestling, NCAA wrestling. I've been blessed with a great opportunity. I call some of the biggest matches in the country every year. My focus is not on NFHS wrestling, and it would be almost be unfair for me to go referee, in my opinion, a qualifying event, not knowing the rules as well as I would want to. Although I think I do pretty well. When I look at other officials here locally that are working every weekend on a high school mat, and they're wanting that opportunity. So Luttrell, I guess to answer your question more directly, we have to look at who's qualified and give everyone that's qualified an opportunity. So if they're qualified to work that level of wrestling, say the state tournament, we can't let them be held back, because we will lose them if they don't get that opportunity. We've got to find ways to get them involved. And as long as they're qualified and they're capable and competent, they should get the opportunity to work the state tournament.
Thanks, Jaron. Renee, I think the question was to Jaron's comments earlier, but I'll ask the same one to you if you want to reply to that. If we want the best officials at the tournament from the ranking process to officiate the best wrestlers in the state, why would we deny them the opportunity to give lower ranked officials that opportunity?
Yeah, we never want to deny anybody the opportunity to, once they qualify, right? So if you've met the qualifications that have been established by the bylaws or by the TWOA to officiate a state tournament, then obviously you should be afforded that opportunity. And then based off of your evaluations and everything, you should be afforded that opportunity. However, if I have a exodus of senior officials that leave tomorrow, and I only have, let's say, 3 state qualified officials, and I have an abundance of new officials who have not qualified, is it fair for me to say my state qualified officials should step aside, and El Paso should step away, or totally step away from the assignment? I don't think that's fair either. We want the best officials on the mat at the state, and to provide representation of that, you know, you send somebody that's senior out there to help with those new officials. Me on the mat, I'm not just representing El Paso as a senior official when I go out there. I'm helping those new officials. I'm designated a pod leader. I help people rotate on the mat. I help people in a situation that they may be in. So I'm not just there as a El Paso chapter representative. I'm there as a TWA representative, and I'm there for everybody, not just myself or for El Paso. So yeah, meeting qualifications is part of it. So that's a standard. We can't circumvent that process. So, and I do have a question really quick. Considering the size of DFW or any of those central locations, if there's a shortage in officials, why are you not putting yourself on the mat, Jaron?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, got you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know the shortage of officials you're speaking of. What shortage do we have?
I mean, is every event that you all have out there being staffed, and every event is being able to be fulfilled by assignment?
Yeah, we haven't turned anything down, but I just said earlier I'm on the schedule already 7 times before the end of this year, so I'm on the mat.
Okay. And then when was the last time you did a state tournament?
2020 or 2021. I'm not sure the relevance for the state president role though.
I was just wondering when the last time you were in the trenches. That's all.
Well, I've been in the trenches quite a bit. Shit, I was in the trenches in
No,
Tulsa
I'm
this
not talking
weekend.
about.
So, you know, it's
No,
you talk
I'm
about the
talking about
trenches. I don't know
talking
if you've
about
been
state
in the
level.
trenches. Yeah, I don't know if you've been in the trenches I've been in, to be honest with you, Renee. So, you know, if we're going to go down that road with
Hey,
response
Jaron, I
and
think you're a
quality,
great NCAA official. You're a great
but
NCAA official. I love
you're
what you're doing
talking.
in NCAA, but I'm just asking what you're doing for TWA.
I'm doing a lot for TWA. I'm leading a chapter. I've been in chapter leadership the last 15 years. So I've been here leading, Renee, maybe not the state level, but leading the local level. And I think the quality officials that Gulf Coast has put out underneath the time I've been in leadership with a great group of people here has demonstrated just that. We've put several officials at the state tournament, as many as 12 to 13 in one given year. You know, I don't understand quite the comment about a state tournament or being in the trenches. I don't know what that has to do with the state presidency and the ability to govern and understand nonprofit organizations and mentoring officials.
Great. Appreciate that. Thanks for the feedback, guys. We've got one more question from Angel in the forum. If you become president, Renee first, if you become president, what specific reforms will you make to the state selection process? What steps are required for those changes to truly take effect?
You know, that goes with working with the executive board and listening to the members to see what they're asking for. Currently, the process is working adequately, right? We've had great representation at the state level. The state officials have been making a mark and everybody's doing a great job. So at this time, you know, I don't see a change that needs to be taking place, but there's always room for improvement. So I would work with the executive board and state and chapter presidents to see what we can change if the change is required or asked for.
Thanks, Renee. Jaron, if you become president, what specific reforms would you make to the state selection process? What steps are required for those changes to truly take effect?
Yeah, well, I guess first of all, the state president doesn't have any power to make any changes to any of that. It's an executive board decision. It's has to be vetted by them and voted on by them. State president has nothing to do with that other than maybe giving them guidance and support. So really, to answer that question, Angel, it's a state board decision. What does Jaron think, and what would I encourage everyone to explore? I think we have to get to a point where we have a statewide ranking. I think selections have to be made based off of that ranking, but also based off of regional representation. I think if one area has a lot of strong officials, I got some feedback. There we go. I think they should be represented accordingly. I think if an area doesn't have strong representation that's been viewed through evaluations and feedback and the ranking process, then that should be looked at accordingly as well. So what change would I make? I think we have to get to a point where coaches have some involvement and feedback, senior officials and evaluators have some feedback, third parties have some feedback. We use a 5-year look back on someone's performance at the state level and nationally, because we have several officials working nationally, to make decisions on who should get the opportunities. If officials are seen in an equal light or equal ranking, and we have to put some other things in place from a governance standpoint to help that selection process, the process should be transparent so everyone understands where they stand. The reality of it is, if we got to a point where you had an opportunity to work a state tournament once every 3 years and you're in that qualified group, that would be ideal. That would show a great rotation. It would show other people getting opportunities and not just the same people going back year over year. Again, just a personal preference. I don't wear a badge of honor to say I did 18, 20, 25 state tournaments. My badge of honor is I did 4 or 5 or 6 and step back to allow others to come in and take on that opportunity.
Great. Appreciate that, guys. One more question from Clayton Martin, and then we'll close it down with final comments from Jaron and then Renee to close us out. Clayton, your question.
Hopefully this will be quick. I like to know the thoughts from the candidates on their view on having an evaluator mentorship and training.
Jaron, go ahead. First on that.
Yeah, no, Clayton, that's spot on. That's what I mentioned earlier in my response to one of the three questions was that you've got to have a mentorship committee. That committee can set protocol, they can set training materials, they can set training events, they can help guide the evaluators on what to do and how to do it. Ironically, just because you're a great official doesn't mean you're a great evaluator. Some of our best evaluators may be average officials. Maybe they did one or two state tournaments, maybe they didn't do a state tournament. Believe it or not, around this state, we have some coaches that are some of the best evaluators you're ever going to run into. As a matter of fact, three of my mentors as I came up were coaches that just had great input and had a great feel for it. So you're spot on, Clayton. We can't just send an official out there with a form and say, go fill it out. Although we get some feedback, there has to be some sort of training to get that individual dialed in to the expectations. And it probably needs some protocol written with it as well, some sort of guidance for them to be able to reference when they're doing those evaluations.
Great. Renee, yours?
Yeah, so to that point, there has to be a collaboration event, right, to get everybody dialed in. It has to be spearheaded by somebody that understands the evaluation process, understands wrestling, understands wrestling knowledge and the mechanics of wrestling as an official. We tried to do this a couple of years back where we had, I think we had the state duels here in El Paso, and we had a meeting prior to. We did a collaboration event, if you will. Each evaluator was provided a video, and then we tried to zero in on equal answers now, right? To where why did you call this, or why are you evaluating it at this level when everybody else is over here? So we're trying to target everybody in, or zero everybody in to where they were on a level ground, if you will. So that and that's something that I would like to put into play as a evaluation process. As far as mentors go, we want to utilize our senior leaders or people that have been in that role for a while or can speak to that, right? Because we can have an official that's great on the mat, knows the rules back and forth, but they don't know how to talk to people. And that's important. Knowing how to talk to people, knowing how to communicate, not belittling people, not, doing anything like that, but really sharing knowledge and sharing process and providing feedback in a constructive manner, so that that official walks away with content instead of just walking away with, that guy just beat me up, or they just beat me up, or I feel worse than I thought I did. We want to elevate and raise our officials, whether it's good feedback or bad feedback. So I would definitely lean on what we used to call graybeards, right? The senior officials, or somebody that just understands that, and I'd be willing to work with anybody. And maybe some positions or some aspects aren't necessarily the state president's role, but it's important for everybody to work together, regardless of whose role it truly is. Suggestion and criticism and comments moving forward is all about is just about moving forward. So, and that's really what I want to do. So, thank you.
Thanks, Renee. Appreciate that. Thanks for the questions, everyone, tonight. We got through a lot of things. We got through the things in the forum and in the chat as best I could, try to be diverse and inclusive all the way through there. We'll end up just a couple of minutes with each. Jaron, if we'll let you go first, and then end up with Renee, and I'll wrap us up at the end. Jaron.
Yeah. Again, it's been a long night. I thank everybody for coming on and listening. Certainly been fun talking through some things. I'm really encouraged about the opportunities that are coming. I think for TWA as a whole, we've got a lot of great things happening. A lot of new members coming in. We've got a great program that was put in place last year by the executive board to recruit new officials. We've got to continue to build on that momentum. I feel I'm the person to help do that. My experience with governing and 501c3s and mentoring and building educational programs for officials is something I've just been passionate about for the past several years. standing up for those that may not have a voice. I guess maybe that's being called bullying, I guess, or whatever it may be. But I can tell you this, those of you that know me, I'm relentless in my pursuit of what I believe to be true and what I believe to be the best interest of our members and our association. And I don't apologize for that. I think there's a lot of good things to come.
Appreciate that. Jaron, Renee, wrapping up.
Yeah, real quick, I just wanted to address Sam's comment. Sam Arnott posted a comment. Sam, I wasn't talking about the actual evaluations that you were given. I was talking about the process. And I too, Sam, have been a victim of your wristbands are too small. And that's not, that's something, that's the last thing you think about, right? As as being an evaluated official. Are my wristbands too small? Am I wearing a watch underneath my wristband? You know, those are the things that the least amount of things that we're thinking about when we're on the mat. But we need to be clear in when we come to the point of evaluation process, and all of our officials need to understand what our evaluators are looking for, and that's what the process or what we need to come to. So I just wanted to come back to that, Sam. So sorry that happened to you in El Paso. It's not a representation of El Paso. It's just something that happened with an evaluator. Those evaluators were not all from El Paso, by the way. So just wanted to circle back on that. I'm definitely all about moving forward. I'm not in the capacity that Jaron's in, right? I'm not an NCAA official. I'm not executive board member. I'm not this, I'm not that. I didn't wrestle at a college level. But you know what? Jaron didn't jump out of airplanes. Does that matter? Not really. I did. Does that really matter? No, it doesn't. But what I do know is that TWA is something that's near and dear to my heart. And I will also, to Jaron's point, just make sure that we're in a good place when I decide to move on to greater pastures later on in life. I mean, I'm all about mentoring. I'm all about guiding. I'm all about getting everybody to the next level and making this a priority in my day-to-day. I love what I do. I love who I work with. And I've loved everybody that I've come across. Sam Arnott has had my back on the mat at a state level. And many of you have had my back on the mat on the state level, and I've had yours. Somebody said, what does it matter if you're a state official or not? What does that do for you as a leader? It doesn't necessarily put you in the position of being a better leader, but it helps you understand what's been going on the mat, what's been happening, what our association members are going through day to day, what you guys are facing, what we're facing when it comes to these coaches, with the rule changes, with the kids. The environment is changing all the time, and it's important to be a part of that. I could step aside and let everybody else come up and do all that, but 9 times out of 10, they might fail, and I don't want to see people fail. I want to see people grow. I want to see people succeed. It's not a badge of honor that I've been at the state tournament so many times, but I do hold pride for it, right? I hold pride for it because it's an accomplishment. Is it my greatest accomplishment? No. My daughter's my greatest accomplishment. That's my greatest accomplishment. And I take time away from being away from my family. I'm here tonight at a different location away from my family because I want to be with you all, just like you all want to be with me right now. So I really appreciate everybody's time and efforts to be here on time, prioritize this call, and prioritize TWA wrestling. And that's really what I want to do moving forward. So I appreciate everybody.
Thanks, Renee. Thanks, Jaron. Thanks, everyone, for attending tonight. We had as many as 93 in the beginning, and we finished up with 81 people online after an hour and a half. And we got through a lot of questions. You got introduced to Jaron and Renee. If you didn't know them, you got hopefully deeper knowledge of them and their passion for the role, moving forward. State president is a grinder. It's a role that is a grinder. It's all year long. You're dealing with off-season stuff for the better part of 8 months, and then through the season, just trying to get through and prepare for postseason with testing, insurance, background checks, registration, et cetera, et cetera. And to have 2 experienced candidates in the game to be able to help lead us into the future is going to be huge. And I just beg everyone, as we get into the election starting December the 2nd, for 2 weeks is when the elections go on, that no matter what the outcome is and no matter who the elected state president is, that as a state, we continue to unite and unite better even than we are right now, even though we may disagree with whatever a personal opinion that one of them may have, or that the executive board may have as an individual. What the charter of the state needs to do, and what the state president is leading with the executive board, supporting the executive board and making those decisions. We've got to unite to continue to make Texas the best state in the country as far as wrestling officiating, the Texas wrestling officiating leading that. So I beg of you, and you'll hear this over the next month, I beg of you to continue to unite as best we can, appreciate the differences that are there, make sure those opinions get discussed in the room, and the transparency is there moving forward, and that we support those leaders moving forward on whoever is elected. So get involved, vote, discuss with your friends, discuss with other officials, and make this better. Real quick.
Hey, Rex, maybe a comment from me as a viewer, not just a commentator here, or a speaker. It seems we had some members or former members on the call tonight that aren't members in good standing right now, or even members of the association. That being said, bringing into concern the election coming up, how are we going to secure the election to where only members in good standing are voting during this election? If they were allowed to join this call tonight, but they're not a member of their local chapter or TWA, I don't know why they'd be on the call.
I appreciate that, and want to sign off on that. Let's take that to the forum so we can discuss it there. I wanted to mention that this call will be recorded, so that you can play it back for those who may not be able to attend, or if you want to listen to it again. But we can also continue questions on there for Renee, for Jaron on the forum as well. And if you need a level
Rex,
of questions.
from a transparency standpoint, though, why, if we have people that aren't paid members of TWA and they've abandoned their local chapter, why were they allowed on this call?
The election process that begins December the 2nd will only take registered officials through TWA as of midnight, December the 1st. The evening of December the 1st is when the cutoff will be for registered members on that to participate in the election moving forward.
Is that being ran through an independent third party that will monitor that and be given a list of officials that can vote? Or are we doing it through our website that we have now?
We will take the registered members as of midnight, December the 1st, and turn those over to the state treasurer. According to our state bylaws, that state treasurer will then send out the ballots, the individual ballots, to the state for that, on that. So the election itself
will be an electronic ballot, though, or how are they going to do that?
It will be electronic ballot.
And will it be done through the website or done through email?
It will not. We discussed this on the executive board call last week. It will be done independent to the treasurer, not through the website.
Good, thank you.
You got it. Great. Thanks again, everyone. Appreciate that. Please take your questions to the forum so that we can keep track of them and give Renee and Jared both an opportunity to answer those if they wish and discuss there. Thanks again for your involvement. Good luck this week. Good luck this season, and look forward to speaking with everybody really soon. Thanks again, guys.